How far have you gone to get great beer? I know some people who travel halfway around the globe in pursuit of the perfect pint. This summer, a collection of businessmen who are interested in lentils chartered a private jet and flew all the way from Hong Kong to Regina. They came to our tap room, they ordered a pint, drank it, and then they got in their jet and flew back home to Hong Kong, all in the span of 24 hours. I thought that was really hardcore. But then I heard about a passionate local beer hunter named Ashley Kirsch, who is all about craft beer. She's also part of our Lady Rebels Beer Club, and she's traveled across North America, and maybe the globe, I'm going to find out, in search of great craft beer. I wanted to pick her brain and get some tips and tricks on how to become a better beer hunter, and maybe she has a few recommendations for me to chase down and try. Ashley, welcome to the show.
Oh, thanks for having me.
So how did you get into craft beer?
Funny story. First start for me was actually at Rebellion, and Vanessa had got me to try the sour. I want to say it's the strawberry. I get this wrong every time. It's a strawberry sour, and it was like my favorite beer of all time. And I begged them to bring it back. Please bring it back.
I think we are going to bring it back.
I hope so. I've been waiting.
And then from there it was just...
Yeah, from there it was just, well, actually we had moved to the States, and I've never tasted so many great beers in my entire life, and then got a bit obsessed. We started home brewing, and then when we moved back, we started going to Rebellion and Malty and all different places to get what we can.
That's awesome. So what do you do when you're a beer hunter? Like, do you drive long distances or get some mail order?
Yeah, so the obsession kind of started when me and my husband moved to California for one of his jobs. He got a job at Esri. It's a mapping company, and so it put us kind of smack dab in the middle of LA and Palm Springs. We lived in Redlands. And so our game plan was we're going to go there, we're going to make some money, but we're not going to save. We're just going to take every weekend and go do something fun. And we have an obsession for beer, so every weekend we would go and try about 3 breweries and only do flights and not get drunk because you got to drive. But it'd be hours and hours on the road just trying to find the next one.
Do you have any tips and tricks?
Biggest thing for us was to Google Map. I'd say 90% was on Google Map, but then we would get referred to, if you started talking to anybody at the breweries, they would always be like, you got to try this place. It has the best whatever. And so you'd open your phone and put in the Google Notes, and you'd be looking for that next place.
So it's the staff who you kind of relied on?
Staff, actually, just the other people drinking at the brewery. So anyone that was interested or having beer sit at a community table, and they're very open and very kind.
Well, what were some of the notable experiences? It doesn't have to be your favorite, but...
Well, it started, we like all sorts of beer. Husband's really into the IPAs, especially the New England IPAs. I really like the sours. So I would drive probably 2 hours to go for an interview for a job with what you call like a headhunter, the third party, to get me a job. And on the way back, I would see a few places that I was like, oh, I really want to try this. So I'd stop. For example, the brewery Turo has, I want to say, 30 beer, if not more, on tap, and they're mainly sours. So you just stop in and be like, this is amazing. You might like half, you might not like a half, and then you drive home. But I think the most exciting part would be taking friends with us. We met a bunch of friends down there, and we go and try the different places we could, have all the different kinds of beer, and then kind of take their take on it.
Do you have like a top 3 breweries that people should try when they travel to the States?
I love the brewery Turo. They've got amazing beer if you're going to be in Anaheim, and a lot of people go to Disneyland, so a perfect stop on your way. If you're in San Francisco, I really, really love Almanac. It's probably one of my favorites. Their bottles are fairly expensive for the small bottle at $10.99 US, but definitely worth it. And any of the Modern Times, they do such a great job at their brewery. Like, they've got really neat artwork, they're very personable, and they've got all sorts of kind of beer on tap. I think the Mad Fermentationists had helped them originally when they started.
The Mad Fermentationists?
Yeah, Mike Tonsmeyer.
What's
he
that?
He does the sour brewing. He's got the book out for anybody that wants to do home brewing. Very popular in the beer community. And then he also just opened a brewery in Maryland. And great guy. If anyone is at home brewing, he will answer any questions you have about it.
You could just email him direct?
Yeah, he has a website that you can get beer recipes from. I think they actually have the Modern Times, some of the beer actually up that you can do the clone recipes. But he also, you just ask him a question, he'll respond usually within 24 hours to 48. Very nice guy, same age as me. Thought it was cool.
You keep talking about sour beer, so how about we drink some?
That would be awesome.
Cheers.
Thanks, cheers.
Sorry, I made you wait for that one.
I'm waiting this whole time. It is delicious. I have a great story to tell about this one. You want to introduce it?
Hit me. So this is the Rebellion Sour Red. This is the one that won bronze at the World Beer Cup last year. So
before it won the world, we actually took it down to our friend's wedding. We moved back from California. We were only there for a year. And when we came back, we wanted to take down a bunch of beer locally to our friends in the States, and they had a beer share at a wedding. So in January, we took this one down, and this was up against places like the Brewery, the Rare Barrel.
What's a beer share?
You know, when you take a bunch of bottles of beer and everyone has a sample of it just to have something unique that you can't get everywhere else. So
okay.
We had some stuff come down from Nova Scotia. We brought some Saskatchewan beer. Some friends brought stuff out from some of the eastern states. I can't remember where they came from. And like top name bottles like Rare Barrel, very expensive stuff that is very unique to there. And everyone liked this one the best.
They voted it the best?
They voted it the best. I thought that was really cool that we brought something that everyone loved. And then, of course, they win the bronze. So.
And kind of confirmed what you had been seeing from the people at the wedding?
Yeah, it was pretty awesome.
Was it like a wedding for beer geeks?
I would say 95% of the people there are beer drinkers that like to search for the craft beer.
Oh, that's deadly. You mentioned you were in San Francisco, and it's my understanding that San Francisco is a bit of a craft beer mecca.
Oh yeah, they're huge. We did a trip out to Russian River. They're very huge on the scale. Yeah, they had, I think we did all 30-some samples that they had on the board. We tend not to drink it all just so that we don't get too drunk, but you'd sip every one of them, decide what your favorites were, and then drink the rest of those.
Were you walking out there on wobbly knees?
Yeah, we walk it off for about an hour and then head home. Because I think they're an hour and a half outside of the city. And then from there we went over to Berkeley where the Rare Barrel is, and they do the Sour Hour podcast. Very unique and interesting for anyone that home brews. One of the guys used to work for the brewery, Tiro. They have a huge, huge system, like wide open building of nothing but casks where someone else makes the wort and then they sour it the way they like it. And then we did Almanac, which is closer to where Chinatown is, I believe, and they have a beautiful, like gorgeous room for serving all their beers. But they mainly specialize in the sour as well.
So what's the kind of vibe when you walk into Almanac? Is it like rock and roll or?
No, it's like pretty white, what's the word? Like classic. It looks like walking to the fanciest place you've ever been, and yet it being beer, but not feeling so fancy you can't be in there. And then you go outside and they've got this tiny little patio. I think they're opening up a new one too, like a new area to go drink.
No shirt, no shoes, no service.
Yeah, probably that. I would say no shoes. You might be out of luck. Shirt, I don't know if they get away with that in that area.
I was told you traveled great distances to get your hands on a bunch of Sour Red. Is that true?
Sour Reds?
Yeah.
I would say all sorts of sours.
All sorts of sours?
All sorts of sours. So we've done a bit of different things. We actually did, we lived in California. We would drive 2 hours to go to San Diego. We flew to San Francisco from LA. I want to say it was about 4 hours. We did Louisiana and did New Orleans. And ventured out of town there to go to Courtyard Brewing. They've got some sours, but mainly they had this, it's not just sours, I shouldn't say that. They got some lavender beers, some really interesting mixes of anything you can find. We did the homebrew conference because we're really interested in homebrewing, and I thought if we're going to do it, we should go travel. So we went to Minneapolis. I love Minneapolis, but I probably would have hoped that it was in somewhere else next time we went.
Was it a little cold when you went?
It was just, yeah, it was not what I was expecting, I guess. But it was still nice to visit, and then we went We did the homebrew conference for 3 days. We learned how to mix and some interesting courses that they offer. But mainly it was drinking all day. Like they have the homebrew clubs in there selling their stuff, and then the big wigs are there giving out their beer. But we went downtown and we just had a great night where we went to one brewery and the guy was like, hey, let's just do a back tour. And it wasn't your usual, like, here, this is how it's made. It was more like, this is the kind of the equipment we use, this is how it's laid out. And I thought that was really neat that someone was so nice to just take some time out to show us.
So what's next in your craft beer hunting journey? More Lady Rebels, more home brewing? Are you chasing some medals now?
Oh, goodness, I'm not there yet. There's no time for homebrew right now. But after renovations are done in our house, I'm really hopeful. Really love the Lady Rebels. They've been a great way to meet people and also try some different beers that nobody else gets to try. They've even allowed me to pick out one of the beers that we had at the Lady Rebels. Most people liked, I know not everyone's into the sours, but we did a Brewery Turo's Tart of Darkness. Really delicious. And I will note, without saying any names of the companies, but if you search enough in the city, you'll find some for like $25 a bottle versus the 50/45 at some of the other stores.
Oh, come on, you gotta tell me where.
The Metro and the East and Quants, I don't want them to change their price. They were about $25. And Beer Brothers has been really awesome when they get Brewery Turo in to be around about the same cost, which shocks me because it's almost the same as you could buy at their own store in California.
Does Beer Brothers tip you off when a rare beer comes in?
No, you can find them on Untapped.
Okay. You're following
I have to call and be like, what do you have? And they're like, well, on Untapped. I'm like, right, I forgot. They got some really neat stuff in their cellar downstairs. And they had the sour tap takeover, which had a bunch of different kinds. And I mean, tastes fresh. Tastes like it just came off their tap in the States.
Well, sours hold up pretty well, don't they?
I would think so. We brought, I hate to admit this, sorry for anyone listening who's going to judge me, we just spent $900 on beer in the States when we last went.
Wow.
Yeah, a portion of it came home and a portion of it was drank there. So our cellar is stocked. Do you have any favorites when you go down there?
Do I have favorites? My favorite brewery in Wisconsin is in a small town of La Crosse, and it's called Pearl Street Brewing. And Pearl's is actually an ice cream shop. And they have like that old-timey candy with the little jars, and you can scoop in with little glass.
That's so cool.
Scoops. And then right down the street, next door, is Pearl Street Brewing.
So you hit 2 in 1.
Yeah, you got to get your ice cream or your candy. And they even have those ones that are like the little dots on paper. Do you remember those ones?
I don't remember those.
They're like pure sugar, and they just give you a sugar rush.
Is it like licking it off the paper?
Yeah, you like just rip it off the paper and eat it. You're eating paper half the time.
Recall those.
And like
sounds like it's awesome.
Hard Rock candy. Oh yeah. And then you go over to Pearl Street, and my favorite beer from them is That's What I'm Talking About, Rolled Oat Stout. But they just have a deadly lineup. All their beers, start to finish, are great. Like, doesn't matter the style, they managed to pull off something beautiful. And it's kind of like a little gem because La Crosse is a little small town. It's beautiful. Yeah.
I think that's awesome. We keep traveling. My mom just moved to Phoenix, and I just started getting her onto some craft beer. So we went to the Wilderness, Arizona brewery, I believe that's what they're called, and they had a really unique sour. It had like, I want to say about 7 different herbs in it. And it was not overpowering. I was really worried because sometimes they overtake when they sit in there too long, the astringency or whatever they get, the bitterness. It was awesome. And then I convinced them later to go to Wren Brewing. My parents are very accommodating to us when we visit. And there was a raisin oatmeal beer. It was not a stout. It was just a raisin oatmeal. I can't remember what it was, but it was so good. Highly recommend anyone that's going, but it's like a super small room to go to. I will give a shout out to my favorite brewery, though, is in Colton. So it's between Redlands, going on your way to Anaheim. They're called 3 Iron. They look like
I've heard of them.
Have you seriously?
I've heard of them. I haven't drank them yet.
You're blowing my mind. How have you heard of them?
Just people talk, right? I sit at the tap room. People talk about their favorite breweries.
I'm impressed. They are very small. They are almost like, I don't want to do it injustice, but like it's kind of like a mismatch of like stools and tables, and they're almost like they're in a garage. But the 2 men that run it are amazing. There's 3 owners, but the 2 guys are always there, and they're so accommodating, so friendly. They always have food, and they do this epic. It's my favorite. It's a blonde beer, but it's mocking a stout, and it tastes everything the way the stout should taste. They've got several other great beers on tap, but they know that that's my favorite, and I just ran out of it last weekend, so I'm a little depressed.
One of the greatest breweries my friend brought me is located in New Zealand.
Okay.
He brought the whole suite of their beers because he's like, you're going to love this beer. It's called Garage Project.
I haven't heard of them.
Man, was it fantastic. One of their brews is called White Trash, and it's like a raccoon with gold chains and like a wrap hat set to the side, and he's got his big sneakers. And the beer was just amazing. Beer after beer, every one I cracked was just delicious. If you ever get to New Zealand, you've got to check it out.
I went there a long time ago, younger. I would love to go back. My other half always gives me crap because I've always been in places that he hasn't. Sorry, Thomas. He's going to really hate me for saying that.
You mentioned Untapped. So Untapped, for those who don't know, is basically Facebook for beer. You check in a beer and it pops up and all your friends can see you're drinking it. You can rate it, but you can also kind of search for different styles or different breweries, check out their ratings. How do you use Untapped?
We were really good for it when we first started drinking. We'd always check in, but we started doing too many flights. We ended up going to one place and ordering almost 30 of their beer because that's what they had. We wanted everything, so I kind of stopped using it quite as much, but it is really unique. You can type it in. Most people have it in. If it's not in, you can type it in. You can type in the style it is. You give it the star ratings. You can put in pictures, and it's very helpful if you ever want to remember what you had before that you liked. I found it funny when we were sitting at Beer Brothers, and Scott, that was on your podcast that did the Fight Club, he was making a comment, and then I think it came up on the screen as one of the underlying things that go across the board, or Thomas, my husband, happened to see him write something. I'm like, nice, because you can actually see who's near you writing these things. And it was another way that we actually found another guy that owns a brewery. He was at the same place as us in the States making comments, and we could say that they were from No Clue Brewing. And sure enough, it was like, oh, we're going to go over and talk to them and ask about their beer. So very cool for people. I use it now for some of the first beers I've ever had because I never remember what they are, and I'm sure they'll never be made again, but they were very cool. I wanted to throw in, too, Avery Brewing has some really great ones. I have a ginger sour.
Where are they located?
I want to say Denver because most people are from Denver.
Okay.
That's going to side note into another conversation, but they have some really epic ones, and the ginger just is mind-blowing. Like, I've never tasted anything not overpowering, but like enough ginger. Like a ginger beer, but it's not. Like a sour, beautiful, clean.
Denver's on our bucket list, our couple's bucket list, because one of my wife's very, very best friends lives in Denver, so we're going. It's just, we have to get the kids figured out. Do we leave you with grandma and then we just hit what is a mecca for craft beer?
Yep.
Like hit Denver, which is, everybody's like, oh, Denver, weed, right? Legal weed. But it's like, no, they have an amazing craft beer scene.
I think they're one of the best between Southern California, like San Francisco, Southern, Northern California, Denver, like the hot spots.
Boom.
We actually want to go there. That would be, you asked what's on the bucket list. Belgium. Really, really want to go. Want to hit it when we hit Oktoberfest, just because why not? Love German food too. And then Denver was on the list to go to. We were actually going to stop there instead of going to California, but we wanted to revisit friends. And some of the things got in the way, so we're like, we'll do Denver another time.
Well, the Sour Red is kind of our little love note to Belgium, right?
Yeah.
One of our founding members, one of the owners, he named his daughter after a brewery from Belgium.
Who was this?
Her name is Madeline, so
Very
that
nice.
was one of the beers that he really enjoyed.
That's awesome. I know I've been told stories about Mark making this Flanders. I know it's a group effort, but he has a culture going for years?
He cultured the yeast, like, I think it was about a decade ago, and then he's just been working on it and keeping it alive and developing it, and it's just gone from there.
He was very kind with information, saying that even back in the day he would talk to Michael Tonsmeyer too, who's probably the only one in the States really looking into it, and they were both very helpful back and forth to each other, but like, this is an amazing beer. I absolutely love this. I think we bought probably 8 bottles last year because we wanted to keep it in the cellar because we know it goes good forever.
That was more than I purchased. I only purchased 2.
What are you doing? We actually, so Vanessa, that works at the Rebellion as a brewer, headmaster.
I think she is assistant brewer.
I can't remember the title.
Head brewer now?
I think head brewer.
I can't remember.
Sorry, Vanessa, I'm terrible with things. We want to actually get together and take an old bottle with a new bottle and just have fun just tasting them on a blind taste, just to see if there's any differences that we notice. And then probably grab some of the takeaway cheese because we're obsessed.
Takeaway Gourmet?
Yeah.
Yeah. Alina will actually help you out if you go down to Takeaway Gourmet and tell her, I'm going to be drinking this beer with this style of whatever. She'll make cheese recommendations for you.
And she's so good at it. Vanessa actually has already done that. We got invited to a cheese and beer night, and it was all Rebellion beer with cheese. And holy cow, she put it with blue cheese. Oh, I don't think I've ever tasted something so good. Most people would be like, ugh. And I'm like, no, it was perfect. If you don't like blue cheese, she has other stuff, though.
I'm lactose intolerant, so she kind of pushes me towards like the goat cheeses and the cheeses that have been low lactose. I still load up on the lactose pills, but man, it was like one of the best lunches I've ever had. She's like, here, try this raclette, try this goat, try this, and it's boom.
She's very awesome with the samples, too, if you haven't been there.
And I love how Alina calls her husband Cheese Bay.
I haven't heard that one.
Yeah. She gets him to like make a kissy face or pose all seductively with cheese.
My cheese bay?
Yeah.
I'm sure he loves it.
Taylor has a great sense of humor. He came out for a snowball fight at the brewery.
Oh, I did see pictures of that. I think we were gone for then.
Yeah.
That is so awesome.
He took one right in the chest and then he just fell down because it was so icy.
Not just proper kid play where you're like, I'm dead.
Have I missed anything? Is there any one final recommendation you'd make for people to check out?
I don't know. It's find out what you love. I would say if you're going to the States, find out what's around you, put it into Google Maps. I would actually go online and just read what they have for beer, what's on tap. My biggest thing is to see, okay, so there's a brewery like every 10 miles in the States. It's insane. So I would go on and see, is it just your common beer that you get all the time? Is it the one out of each category or style, which is normally what people have? Then I try and find the ones that have something unique. I think that to me is more interesting. If it's sour, brewsicles are a big thing at the Brewery Churro, so it's a must. Don't ask me what, I think it's like lactose and some other things mixed in there, but it's delicious. Then you look at, what kind of flavors do you like? What's a little bit interesting? Has anyone told you anything that you should do? We actually made a list for our friends going down to the States and told them, like, this is where we would take you if we were at home. They literally did that same pattern as if we were at home. So they had the trip without us, but did what we would show them. And I thought that was so cool. The Beer Lovers of Saskatchewan is a great place to just comment and be like, we're going down here. Does anyone know anything?
That's a Facebook group.
Facebook group, yep. They're very kind in there, very knowledgeable. A lot of people know a lot of things in there that other people don't. There's also a Canadian Homebrewers. It was Canadian Homebrewers, like the website, and then there was another Facebook group that does it as well. And they're also a very good knowledge or resource to use.
Well, that's how you can become a better beer hunter.
Yeah, truly. Untapped is another good place to go. I don't know, a lot of festivals, if you're down in the States and you're going around the time that they have a festival, Modern Times does a funk festival and I'm sorry, Thomas, I know I said that wrong, and a sour one that they did, and you'll get all sorts. We had like Canadians come up from Montreal. There's a bunch of different places that you would never see. So Denver's got like Black Project, a place in Rancho Cucamonga where I used to work, which is where Workaholics was based out of. They have Sour Cellars, so another hidden gem. There's so many. I don't know. Sorry, I was like, oh.
I'm going to try and plug as many of these breweries' URLs into the show notes.
Okay.
So people who are listening can then kind of follow along and research as you go.
Oh, there's so many then. Okay, New Belgium. I love the sour stouts. I think they're the most unique. New Belgium, Avery. Oh my God, I had them all listed. Sour Cellars, Brewery Churro, Modern Times, 3 Iron, awesome place, a little hole in the wall. Escape Brewing is in Redlands. They do some unique stuff. They actually have a cherry blossom beer. It is very unique and sweet and perfect. Hangar 24 has one of the best views in Redlands. You just see nothing but mountains. Phoenix, the Arizona wilderness. Ren. Oh, I know there's at least 4 more that I'm missing that are in Denver. Yeah.
Well, that's okay. Well, you heard it here first. That's Ashley's list. You're going to go check it out. I'm going to post the links in the show notes there for you.
Thank you.
Ashley, I want to thank you for your time today.
Thank you very much for having me. This is so much fun.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Rebels, thanks for tuning in this week. If you want to find the latest news about Rebellion Brewing, be sure to check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and Untapped. Thank you for joining the Rebellion.